Welcome to our daily reflection for this Thursday, September 12th. And today the theme is how love builds up. And of course, Paul says this to the Corinthians, the Corinthians are Greeks and they love education and knowledge and information. And so they boast of these things throughout. And Paul has to remind them that there's also love. And knowledge can puff up and inflate our ego and our pride. And he warns them against that. But he says love builds up. And that's what really matters. And it's love, it's charity that builds up the community. And so let's reflect today on how our love builds up those around us. Are we builders? Are we building up those around us with love? Do we build up our parish by serving at the parish and loving and being charitable at the parish? Do we build up our families and the individuals in our family? Maybe there's somebody in our family that we're not building up. We need to build them up. We need to love them, support them, encourage them, and serve them. Love builds. And if in a sense, the family, think of it as a church, is collapsing or weak, it's because we're not building there. We need to build. If our parish is weak, we need to build there. If our community in the world that we're in is weak, we need to build there. We need to be builders. We need to build with love. As St. John of the Cross said, where you find not love, put love, and then you may well find it. Right? And Paul gives that advice. I think of St. Francis of Assisi, who's told by God, go rebuild my church. And Francis mistakes this literally, that he's got to rebuild San Damiano with stones. And what God really meant is, Francis, with your radical love of me and of others and of the poor, I need you to go rebuild the church. And Francis will ultimately learn that lesson, and he will ultimately rebuild the church. And any renewal of the church is not by going back to certain music. It's not by simply going back to Latin or different liturgical practices. To renew the church is to rebuild the church with charity. Only love can rebuild the church. And that takes the hardest work of all, which means we have to be saints. Because saints are those who build up others and those around them with love. And this fits beautifully with the gospel today, where Jesus says, do to others as you would have them do to you. It's the golden rule, right? And then he goes on, he says, For if you love those who love you, what credit is it to you, right? Don't sinners do the same? Don't Gentiles do that? Even the worst sinners love those who love them, right? They love their own family and friends. Any dictator has people that they love and that they lavish with gifts and all kinds of things, right? And so to love those who love us, even the worst pagan does that, right? The worst sinners can love those around them that are close to them. We are called as Christians to love those who are our enemies, to love those who are our stranger, to love the poor that we don't know, right? We are called to love others, all others. And so in a sense, Jesus goes on, what credit is it to you if you lend or give and expect a repayment, right? Over and over again, he talks about this idea of credit. So in other words, Jesus is telling us Christians are called to extra credit. We are called to love those who do not love us. And so let's reflect in our meditation today. Who is God calling me to love that's hard for me to love? Maybe it's a coworker. Maybe it's a family member. Maybe it's a spouse. Maybe it's a neighbor. Who am I called to love? And we know that God calls us to love all, but who in your life today is God particularly calling you to step out and love them, even if they don't love you? May the Lord give you the strength to love them back. And may the Lord bless and keep you. Thanks to God's providence, I'm speaking to you from the Augustine Institute's new campus in St. Louis, Missouri. We have this wonderful 286-acre state-of-the-art campus, which is going to allow us to transform our mission from simply having digital platforms to now having a physical platform that complements those digital platforms. It allows us to provide in-person education and training in the faith. We think this is going to be transformative, increasing our student enrollment, providing and allowing us to have conferences and retreats for the church and for the Catholic laity and religious across North America. Help the Augustine Institute serve Christ and the church with this new campus. A gift of $100 or more will allow you to receive a gift in preparation for Advent called Waiting for Christ by St. John Henry Newman. We'll send that to you before Advent, and you can go to augustineinstitute.org/give and make a donation today.